Welcome to another episode of
Okay.
Gentle Power. And for today, we're just going to jump right into it.
Mm-hmm. No chit
So,
chat, no
no,
small
no
talk.
chit chat, no small talk. We can save that for later.
We've just been back from Burning Man, lots of events happening,
It sounds like chit chat.
but nothing. I just want, in case people are like, well, how was Burning Man? And what are you guys doing? We're looking for a new apartment to move into. This is,
Hopefully, a nicer background studio
yeah,
space for all those watching on YouTube.
yeah. And this was not a decision prompted by Burning Man. We're like, no new decisions this calendar year.
Yeah. We had already been thinking about it prior to Burning Man.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Okay.
so the topic we want to talk about today, I like how I learned about this topic because for those who have been following us for a while, you all know that Gerta loves studies. And this was even early on in our relationship. I was always really impressed and also found very attractive that you always reference studies. And we'd be talking, and you're like, there was this one study done at Harvard, whatever, or some sort of school that says this
Psychology
and that. Yeah,
department,
it's always about psychology, behavioral science, very interesting things around how people respond. And anyway, so
Yeah.
you came across the study today that felt very relevant for negotiations and made us
Yeah.
think about our work. Can you dive into it?
Yeah, and quick note on I get asked a lot, how did you become a negotiations expert? Where did you get trained or where did you learn that? I mean, I did take a negotiation course at MIT during my time there with a professor who is from Harvard Law School, and he's a world-renowned negotiator. And then Alex also was trained at Harvard Kennedy School on a negotiations course. But beyond that, I think there's a couple other factors that have helped me become an expert in negotiations, which is I think it's my Albanian immigrant hustle for sure. Both the culture is very like hustly, but also just being an immigrant, you have to figure things out quickly and not get lost in a new country and be creative, be collaborative. And then I think actually the other very big pillar is how much I love behavioral sciences and reading all these studies and learning about all these behavioral science studies where they look at, for example, we quote this a lot. If you say because when you're asking for something, even if the thing you say after because makes no logical sense, you are more likely to get what you want when you ask for something. I think the study was you're in line at the post office and then you're like, oh, do you mind if I cut you in line because I'm eating an apple, which has no relevance. And people are, I want to say, from 60% likely to let you cut to 90 something percent more likely to let you cut in front of them at a line. So things like that I just absolutely love. And I think, and I'm going to spoiler what one of the main takeaways of this episode is going to be. And it's that negotiations is such an art and a science, and it's hard to navigate it alone. And little things that you might not even realize could jeopardize the outcome of a negotiation. Of course, we are biased. We would love to work with you if it makes sense on both sides. But the reality is that it can be very complex. And if you've ever been in a situation where you're like, wait, why did that deal fall through? I asked nicely, and why did their face change? It may have been something you said or did, and there's a lot of studies on what works and what doesn't work. And we're going to talk about this one study today.
Yeah, before we dive into that, there's this one study that you often reference, and I always remember it because it's very memorable, but the one that you say where when they tested if they put a sticker of eyes near
Yeah.
a snack bar or the cookie jar at work.
Yeah.
And so if it looks, even when people know that it's not a real person, but even just the symbol of eyes somewhere, they're less likely to do something they feel like they're being watched.
It's
right?
unethical. Yeah. I think the study was there's some common area and it was like pay honor code. I think it was coffee. So make sure you pay a couple dollars for this coffee. And they measured the rate of how much people were paying. and then they added images of eyes, literally cut out images of eyes.
It's like a sticker or something.
Yeah, sticker, or just print it out in a piece of paper. And people were significantly less likely to not pay for the coffee they got when there's these like stickers of eyes. And they tried it even with, I think, animated eyes. It works even if it's not human eyes. So that was fascinating.
Yeah.
Cool.
Anyway, let's
great
dive into our
study.
topic. Yeah.
Yeah. So actually this morning, our friend Andre, he sent us this study. People, because they know we're negotiators, and there's not many negotiators out there. So when they see something about negotiations, they send it to us. All the memes that are out there, all the TikTok stuff, we get sent the same one all the time.
Yeah, and sometimes we'll send the same ones to each other. And we haven't caught up on all the reels that we've sent to each other. And we'll just say, I already sent this to you. I beat you to it.
Right. And so he sent this study that this guy, Neil Rackham, conducted, and he was looking at.
And who is he? Is he a university researcher?
Yeah, he's a researcher.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a researcher. He conducted this study looking at basically what makes a good negotiator. I wanna read this quote. So it said, results show that in comparison to the average negotiators, skilled negotiators do the following. This is one of the points that I would love for us to discuss today, which is they use only about 1/5 as many irritator words as the average negotiators, 2.3 versus 10.8. So let's say 2 versus 11, right? Irritator words. Irritator words are things such as quote unquote generous offer, fair, or reasonable.
When they use these words,
so skilled negotiators use 1/5 of these words compared to the average.
So they say words like generous offer, fair, less than other.
Exactly.
It's actually pretty surprising.
Isn't that so?
It feels counterintuitive.
I knew where they were going with this because we have our own words that we tell our clients not to use. And we're gonna get into it, and I was like, okay, I see why. We never thought to give it a label or whatever. So irritator words are quote unquote generous offer, fair, reasonable. Can you believe that? And which refer to one's own offers or behaviors. So when people refer to their own offers or behaviors, oh, my offer is fair, my offer is reasonable, my offer is generous. Such words I'm continuing to read the paper, the study. Such words can irritate a counterpart. That's why they're called irritator words. Who takes the words as implying that they are unfair, unreasonable, or not generous. So that's the logic.
I see.
So if I'm like, Alex, why don't you accept this job offer? It was very fair. So now you feel like, wait, am I being unfair for asking for more money? I'm not trying to be unfair. Or I'm like, my offer was so reasonable.
So if a recruiter or an employer says that?
Anyone. We're talking about negotiators in general. So
okay.
if someone is saying, so let's say we're negotiating, let's say I could be anyone, but let's say I'm a recruiter. Let's say you're negotiating and I say, we made you a very generous offer.
Yeah.
That might make you feel like, wait, I'm not being ungrateful. I still need to negotiate and ask for more money. And I'm just realizing as I'm saying this, that some job applicants, when they hear these words, they might feel defensive, or they might feel like, oh, I should not negotiate. Oh, they said it's fair. Actually, one scenario I see this a lot is when recruiters or companies say, we want to be equitable. We can't pay you more because we want to be equitable in the team. We want equity on the team. And a lot of our clients, they come to me and they're like, they're not open to negotiating because they want to be equitable in the team, and so it makes sense. I'm like, no. If you had another offer, they would throw so much money at you.
We see exceptions all the time. So it's just one of those canned responses that companies will use to try to discourage you from negotiating anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
So where I think some people might get tripped up is when they read the study or they hear us talking about the study. Also, Cameo by Truffle. This is one of the dogs that we often dog sit, and she has decided that she wants to get the zoomies right now during the pod. She was napping for hours before this. Yeah, as soon as we start this. So We're not even on Zoom. So I think where some people might get tripped up
Yeah.
is reading the study. The way that I initially interpreted it
Yeah.
was so those who say the words generous,
Yeah.
fair, are less likely to get a better outcome, right?
Exactly.
So I was thinking, but what about a let's say someone who works with us, a client, or just a job applicant
Yeah.
in general. Let's say a job applicant says, "Thank you so much. This is a very generous offer." And then they negotiate.
Yeah.
So what if they're using it in a way to try to build rapport
Yeah.
or to
That's a great question. It does say here, irritators are words such as generous offer, fair, or reasonable, which refer to one's own offers or behaviors. So referring to your own
I see.
offers or behaviors. But I do like that you asked this question because it opens up a new tangent, which is I would probably not label their offer as generous because they might use that label against you. So if you're the applicant and then you're like, your offer was so generous, thank you. Could I have more money? Of course, don't say it like that. They could repeat it back to you. Well, our offer is generous, so there's no more room in our budget. So be careful. Yeah, just leave out those words like fair and generous and reasonable. We always say to keep things cordial, professional, collaborative, but don't go overboard and try to filter your language through like, can this hurt me in any way? Can they use this against me in any
see.
way? Cool. So we had, before we even read this study this morning, we had our own list of things what not to say.
Yeah. I often take our free consultation calls. So people who haven't worked with us yet, who may be in the job search and who may be approaching negotiations or they're about to get an offer, they typically explain to me the background situation and what has happened all the way up to this point. And it's not uncommon for them to recount their conversations, and I just die a little bit inside whenever they have used certain words. So in some cases, sometimes I can tell when a job seeker, they go into the negotiation carrying some sort of, I don't want to say resentment, entitlement, or they're very defensive about the fact that they should be paid a certain amount and nothing else. And it's a non-negotiable for them, right?
And I feel like they're so justified in this job market. It's such a tough market that even our clients who were normally making $1 million total comp, now their offers are coming in at, one person's offer came in at 250K. It's a little offensive for your next role to consider you at a quarter of what you were making before. But on the other hand, that is more of frustration with the system, with the environment, with the market, whatever is happening. We don't want to let that bleed into your dynamic with the company that you're interviewing with or getting an offer from. This reminds me, when I first got my job offer out of college, I was applying so much. I had some visa constraints and all that. And then I had this interview and I was just so tired. So I was so tempted to go through the motions. And then I thought, no, they don't know what I've been going through just taking so many interviews. They will just see what I come in with. So I showed up as if I was like fresh, but I wasn't. I had been interviewing so much, and it was during finals and all that. And that's the job I ended up getting an offer, and I ended up working at straight out of college. And I'm so glad that I came in with fresh energy, even though I was actually very drained. And similarly in negotiations, you can't carry all the resentment, all the justified entitlement from what's been happening in the market and from your previous role and then bring it into this new role, because it's not their fault. This is the market, right?
Yeah. You can certainly, it's very valid and fair to feel justified that you deserve a certain amount. And like you said, given this market, all these things, but there's a difference between how you feel and what you feel like you deserve versus what are the strategies and tactics that you should deploy to maximize and optimize the chances of you getting comp increases. We often say in our company, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. You can feel all you want about what you think you deserve, but you get what you negotiate by using smart tactics that and not bringing in other factors that can jeopardize how much of an increase you can get.
Yeah, absolutely. And cool. Do you want to share some of the, now that we know this, we can call them irritator words or
Yeah.
irritator phrases that
Yeah.
we had already uncovered through our work and our own learnings?
Yeah. So one that I have heard in some of the past free calls and just through the nature of our work is when someone says that doesn't work for me, or that, or when they say that isn't doable, or that's not workable.
Huge red flag to, if I heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even if you're justified, like you said, maybe you made $1 million total comp before, and now they offered you to 250K, and you're like, that doesn't work for me. It might be true, but it's just such a irritator word.
Yeah.
And then, go ahead.
Oh no. Go
I
ahead.
was just gonna add, and I was gonna add that, you know, we have seen incredible results from our work. A quick recap is the best performing client that we helped, we increased their comp by 550K from initial offer to final offer that they signed. And then that was in terms of absolute numbers. In terms of percentage increase, I think it's 42, but you said it might be even higher.
It might be higher now.
Yeah, the one I remember is 42% increase from initial offer to final offer. What that means is there's still hope, even when they come in very low. There's still hope that offer could become something that is workable. That's why you need to keep your cool and sort of play the game in a strategy that is proven.
Yeah, and when you say things like that doesn't work for me, that is not workable, it signals to them that maybe you are not a person that is workable, or we can arrive at a deal. When you present such strong red lines up front or throughout the negotiation, that leaves very little room for the other side to respond in a way where you can move a bit closer towards a win-win. So we often guide clients and we often advise to not use such strong language that doesn't give much room for either side to throw a concession. Because if you say that's not workable for me, maybe they had another concession in their back pocket that could have been an alternate solution.
Right.
But if you just say blanket that doesn't work for me, then that may be taking that off the table. Because who knows if they then gave you that concession that could have created a little bit more room where if they throw in something else, then that is workable, right? So you don't need to shut off these potential options to a win-win that with such hardline irritator phrases like that's not workable for me.
Yeah, and one quick example here on what you said is sometimes I go to stores, even if they're very fancy, and I'm like, is there any discounts? Is there any student discount? Is there any military discount? And then if they like me, sometimes when we just have such good rapport, sometimes for whatever reason, they're like, oh, I'm so sorry, there's no this or that discount, but let me give you my employee discount. And for a recruiter or whoever you're negotiating with at a company, they sometimes have this something in their back pocket where they could help you if they really wanted to. And when you now are combative, at minimum, they're not going to give you that thing that they've been saving for someone they really like. At minimum. But they'll probably not, like, the deal will probably not be nowhere near as optimized.
Yeah. We say this a lot. When people think about negotiations, they think about the high pressure in the boardroom. Each party is sitting on the other side of the table. One makes an offer, the other slides a paper across. So it's like very high stakes.
TikTok memes, I get sent those. I'm like, you're not learning much from this guy.
And a lot of people think when they think negotiations, because they feel like a lot is on the line, they feel like it has to be a high pressure, high stakes situation. The way that Gerta and I think about negotiations is it's very collaborative, relationship building. You work together to explore finding a deal that works for everybody, and you leave the negotiation, you complete it, having preserved, if not improve, the relationship that you have with the negotiating party. So with that in mind, phrases like that's not workable or that doesn't work for me, it doesn't enroll the other side to work with you to find a deal.
Yeah, exactly. So that was probably obvious for most people.
You would think, but we have heard this a lot come up.
There's so much that we think is obvious, and maybe because we've been doing this for a while, sometimes we go through the motions. Oh, don't do this, don't do that, don't give a range, and then people are like, "Oh, why not to give a range?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you didn't know that." That which to me seems so basic, and so yes, sometimes we'll repeat things that seem obvious just because we've seen
Maybe
that
it's not
they
obvious.
were not obvious for some people. But what's one that people would not think? People use a lot in the US actually, and it would not occur to many people that this is an irritator word
Yeah.
or phrasing.
It's when they say, I am not comfortable sharing X, or
Yeah.
I'm not comfortable sending you this, or
Yeah.
this offer letter, or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. Like if the recruiter is like, "What's your preferred number?" and we've told them, "Don't share." I mean, yeah, don't share preferred number. And then sometimes as we're role playing with our clients, they're like,
I'm not comfortable sharing that information.
"Yeah." I'm like, "Oh, I'm so glad you said that, so I can tell you not to say it that way."
So why is it not a good idea to say something like that?
It's not a great phrase because it makes me feel, when you say I'm not comfortable sharing, details about my other offer, or my favorite, my preferred salary or preferred range, then it makes me feel like I asked you something that made you uncomfortable. It makes me feel defensive, or I made you uncomfortable. And it's very interesting. This connects to a previous point you were talking about. I'm pretty sure there is a study that says, and then
Go dig into your archives.
yeah, I need to dig into my archive. Maybe we'll add it in the show notes.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure there's a study that says that people will associate you with the words you use. And so if you use negative words, even if you mean them about someone else or about some situation, they will associate you with that. So in this example, if you say, "I'm not comfortable," they associate you with discomfort. So don't say that.
Yeah. I think just saying something like, I'm not comfortable saying this, I mean, fully justified. And if you're genuinely not comfortable, and there are many situations where you want to use this, right?
Yeah,
but we're
yeah,
talking
of
about the
course.
negotiations context.
Negotiation, especially job offer.
It can't help build more rapport if you say something like that.
Yeah.
Right?
At minimum, it's not helping.
Right.
At minimum. But I'm pretty sure it's hurting.
Because it breaks a little rapport. Maybe
Yeah,
you were having
exactly.
a good rapport, and if they ask you, hey,
Yeah.
what's your number range? It's much better to very tactfully deflect that, continue to maintain your enthusiasm, show interest in the role, show them that if they were to send you actually extend an offer, there's a real chance that you will sign it. But if you say something like, oh, I'm not comfortable saying that, it's kind of like the record scratch, like,
Yeah.
you know?
Very DJ of you to say that.
So it's just not the best phrasing. It just puts the other side like that they have infringed, or, oh man, actually the vibe's just tanked right now.
Yeah, I was thinking, imagine if you're having a good conversation with a really good friend, and then you're like, how's your family? How's this? How's that? And then what happened with that guy or with your job? And you're like, I'm not comfortable telling you that. Like, oh, okay, I thought we were building a good rapport.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. What's another one that we tell our clients not to use?
Yeah. So another irritator phrase that we want people to keep in mind is saying something like, can you please put that in writing, or can I get that in writing?
Yeah.
And the reason why this is not, it sounds very normal,
sounds
right?
very fair.
It sounds very fair, sounds
Reasonable
normal.
offer.
Yeah. But the reason why you want to stray away from this is when you say something like that, it makes the other side feel like you can't trust their word, or you don't really trust them, or you feel like that their word doesn't have integrity, or something.
Yeah, and like you're gonna hold them to it. Like, oh, you said my offer is, I don't know, 500K. Well, can I get that in writing, just in case you like give me a different number tomorrow?
Yeah, it could make the other side again get a bit defensive. You're straying into almost lawyer talk a little bit, and as soon as people feel
And
like
not
you're
the good kind.
not the good kind, right? As soon as people feel like you're trying to nail them down with something that they said, and you're following the exact letter of the law, all these things, then it just makes them feel like, okay, why are they so adamant about making sure that this is in writing?
Yeah.
Of course, you want to get things in writing at the end of the day. You
Right.
want to read your offer letter carefully,
But there's other ways of saying that.
but Exactly. So there are certainly other ways of saying that. And the approach that Garrett and I teach is how to tactfully communicate, whether you are sharing information or trying to deflect sharing information. But of course, you want to read your offer letter. You want, ultimately, at the end of the day, you want everything in writing. But the way that you go about getting those things is very different from such a direct, can you please put that in writing?
Yeah, for sure. There's so much nuance. It's interesting because there have been several cases over the years where we help our clients with negotiations where the company gave a certain verbal offer and then when it came in writing it was lower. So you are justified to not necessarily take their word at face value and trust everything they tell you. However, we want to prioritize the relationship because that's the key ingredient that will ensure the best possible outcome for your negotiations. And at the end of the day, there's just other ways of phrasing it, and we give our clients. Usually, I start spitballing. They're like, what do I say when a recruiter says, what's your preferred salary? I'm like, you could say this or this or this. I have 10 different answers. And then similar for this, you should get that in writing, but here's how you say it.
Yeah.
Not like, can I get that in writing?
Right.
Cool. So other things that I actually saw. So I just want to summarize at this point. Do we have any other phrases? I mean, we had 3 irritator words and phrases that we came up already. To summarize, we have, can I get this in writing? Irritator words we've been telling our clients not to use. Irritating phrases. I'm not comfortable sharing that. That's not workable. That's not doable for me. Along that same line, that's not going to work for me. And then another one was, I expect to be paid X. That sounds so, what are you, a baron? I anticipate to be compensated appropriately.
The expectations are such that my pay is at this amount. Okay, all right.
I think that sounds ridiculous.
So
but
I added this to this list of irritative phrases because someone that I had a
No.
consultation call with, they said that to the recruiter, and I think it was because they were being paid a certain amount, and the initial offer came in pretty low, and this person said, actually used 2 irritator phrases. This person said, "That's not workable for me. I expect to be paid this much," and I reeled when I heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's another flag in what you just said. They gave away a number.
Yeah,
So
they shared their number range.
Phrasing it a certain way,
Yeah.
shows entitlement, all that. Not combative, not collaborative. They also gave away.
Yeah, it was the trifecta of leverage, giving a wage.
Cool. Okay, so we went over the irritating phrases that we've come up with over the years. I guess I wanted to summarize and maybe add a couple more points from the study. So again, the study said, looking at skilled negotiators and average negotiators. And honestly, that's our target audience. And that's what we're doing here at yournegotiations.com, which is a lot of our clients are good negotiators. All of our clients are either execs in tech or mid-careers in tech and tech adjacent fields. So they are good enough negotiators for sure. They know the basics, but we want you to go from good to great, and we want you to not leave value on the table. That's my measure of a good negotiation. You're not leaving value on the table for either party. Why not make the other party better off? Like, of course, we want either and ideally both parties to be better off. And so this study was looking at good versus great negotiators. And it said again, great negotiators use only about 1/5 as many irritator words as the average negotiator. So they were using just like 2 throughout the negotiation versus 11 irritator words. And then we talked about what they are. And the other thing was that great negotiators do is fewer verbal attacks. So yeah, things like you're being unfair or things like that. And then fewer saying I disagree. That also feels like what is it, like a break in our relationship, right?
Yeah.
Like it kind of breaks something.
The record scratch.
Yeah, the record
Yeah.
scratch. Yeah, maybe we'll like add a layer of DJ lingo into our negotiations
Yeah.
just to keep
Just
things
colliding all our worlds.
yeah. And basically to remind people what our values are, we think a great negotiation is creative and collaborative and doesn't leave value on the table. It doesn't have to be money. It could be in the job context. It could be PTO. It could be start date. It could be work from home arrangements and all that. So
Yeah.
we'll leave it at that. Any final thoughts?
No, I think we covered everything around the study and irritator words. So hopefully all the listeners out there have heard these and do not use them in their negotiation.
Great.
All right.
Awesome.
We'll see you.
I was going to say talk soon. But okay, we'll
Yeah,
see you
all right.
soon.
I guess this is one way, but you can also drop any comments in the comments.
You could talk to us too.
Yeah, shoot us an email, alex@yournegotiations.com.
Yournegotiations, plural.com.
Yep. All right.
Awesome.
Bye.
Bye.